Welcome to Hollywood Graveyard, where we set out to remember and celebrate the lives of those who lived to entertain us by visiting their final resting places. Today we conclude our tour of Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, where we'll find such stars as Humphrey Bogart, Mary Pickford, Jimmy Stewart, and many more. Join us, won't you? For this last stretch of our tour of Forest Lawn Glendale, we'll be visiting grave sites spread across the grounds of the cemetery, where we'll be treated to more beautiful statuary and stunning vistas. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check out parts 1 and 2. Our first stop is in Section G, just west of the Great Mausoleum. Here we find the man who took us to Oz. L. Frank Baum is the author of the beloved Wizard of Oz series. The original book was first published in 1900 and spawned several follow-up stories about Oz and myriad film adaptations, the best known of which is the classic 1939 film, The Wizard of Oz, starring Judy Garland. Rounding the Great Mausoleum to the east side, partway up the hill, is the man with the biggest smile in Hollywood, Joe E. Brown. He was a lovable actor and comedian popular in the 30s and 40s. He shot to stardom in 1929 after appearing in the first all-color, all-talking musical comedy, On with the Show. He can also be seen in the classic comedy Some Like It Hot. Brown was one of only 2 civilians to be awarded the Bronze Star for his service during World War II, entertaining servicemen on USO tours around the world, often at his own expense. Let's head north to the east side of the Vale of Memory. About a dozen rows in from the street is the grave of Wallace Beery, one of the most prolific actors of early Hollywood. He starred in some 250 films in his career, and during his time at MGM was the highest paid actor in the world. He is perhaps best known for his portrayal of Bill in Min and Bill, and for his role in The Champ, which earned him an Academy Award. Further west is the section known as Graceland. Up the hill a ways, just past a large tree, is actor Robert Young, who is best remembered as the father on the 1950s TV show Father Knows Best, and as physician Marcus Welby on the TV show Marcus Welby, MD. Let's head now to the northeast section of the cemetery and visit a true Renaissance man, a man who has been unabashedly nude since the year 1504. David.
Hey, wait. It's fake.
Fake? How can you tell?
Because I'm Italian.
Ah, well, Giuseppe's right. This is David's twin brother, an exact replica of the Michelangelo masterpiece, which currently resides in Florence, Italy. There's more art to be found in the Garden of the Mystery of Life to the east. You may have noticed that our puritanical prudishness doesn't follow us into the graveyard. Most of the statues here and elsewhere are nude women, some exuding a subtle sensuality. Why do you suppose that is? Maybe it takes death for us to fully appreciate the beauty of our own mortality. Or perhaps these statues simply serve to distract us from the grim realities of death surrounding us here. The greatest beauty known to mankind, the nurturing and life-giving nature of woman, shielding us, easing our troubled souls in light of this unenviable fate we must all face. Or perhaps they're simply angels tending to our dead. Linger long enough in this garden, and the mystery of life will be unfolded to you. But enough waxing philosophic. Back to the tour, we'll continue northwest along Cathedral Drive and stop at the next courtyard. On the far side of this courtyard, just past the Christus, is the niche of legendary Las Vegas entertainer Danny Gans. Billed as the man of many voices, comedian Danny Gans was named Las Vegas Entertainer of the Year every year between 1998 and 2008. The Mirage Marquee on the Las Vegas Strip that bore his name, at one time, held the record as the largest freestanding marquee in the world. Across the courtyard is the Garden of Memory. As with the Garden of Honor, this is a private locked garden, so without a key or a little luck and an open door, you won't be able to get in. Immediately to the right is the Columbarium of Eternal Light. Near the middle of the wall on the right side is hard-boiled leading man of Hollywood's golden age, Humphrey Bogart, who ranked number 1 on AFI's list of greatest film legends. He often starred in noir thrillers of the 40s, including The Maltese Falcon and The Big Sleep, but it was his role in the 1942 film Casablanca that would cement his place in Hollywood history.
Now. He's looking at you, kid.
He was buried with a gold whistle given to him by his wife, Lauren Bacall, an allusion to one of their most famous scenes together.
You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
Let's cross this garden to the southeast section. Here we find the ornate sarcophagus of America's sweetheart, Mary Pickford, Hollywood's first superstar. Don't let her diminutive stature and demure demeanor fool you, however. Mary was a powerhouse in early Hollywood and helped shape the art and industry of filmmaking as we know it. She began acting on stage as a child before discovering a new art form, the movies. Hesitant at first, Mary quickly found her place in the budding young industry. Not only did she find her place in the movies, she helped define them. Mary quickly realized that acting on film required a different and more nuanced approach to acting on stage. She essentially invented acting for film. Her role in her first feature, Tess of the Storm Country in 1914, catapulted her to international stardom, and in the years that followed, she became the most famous woman in the world. She was a savvy businesswoman and leveraged her appeal to negotiate a salary of $10,000 a week by 1916, an unheard of amount for an actor at the time, male or female. She easily transitioned into sound films, winning an Academy Award in 1930 for her performance in Coquette. In 1920, she married Douglas Fairbanks, the reigning king of Hollywood at the time. They became Hollywood's first celebrity hybrid name couple, Pickford, which was the name of their Beverly Hills estate, considered the social gathering hub of Hollywood in the 1920s. In 1919, she joined with Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks, and D.W. Griffith to form United Artists, which allowed them to bypass the studio system and have control over their projects. One studio head quipped in response, "The inmates are taking over the asylum." She was also one of the founding members of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Eileen Whitfield appropriately titled her biography of Pickford, "The Woman Who Made Hollywood." Further up Cathedral Drive, we'll stop at the triumphant Faith Terraces. Across the street to the southwest is the grave of Ted Knight. Comedic actor Ted Knight is perhaps best remembered for his role as Ted Baxter on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. He can also be seen in Too Close for Comfort and Caddyshack. Back across the street, let's admire another of Forest Lawn's beautiful art pieces. This relief sculpture of the Baptism of Christ adorns the tomb of a former general manager of Forest Lawn. Up the smaller stairs to the right, we head into the triumphant Faith Terraces. On the left is the walled garden plot where Vincente Minnelli is buried. Minnelli is famous for directing many of Hollywood's movie musicals, including Meet Me in St. Louis and Gigi, for which he won an Oscar as Best Director. Vincente was married to Judy Garland from 1945 until 1951. Their daughter is actress Liza Minnelli. We turn left at the intersection and follow Cathedral Drive around to the Everlasting Love section on the left. At the top of the hill, right next to the road, is Carole Landis, a popular actress of the 30s and 40s who burst onto the scene in the 1940 film 1 Million BC. She had the most famous curves in Hollywood at the time, becoming known as the Ping Girl and the Chest. She hated the monikers, however, and wanted to be known as more than just a curvaceous cutie, and she certainly was. In addition to being a talented actress, seen in films like I Wake Up Screaming, she was also a singer and gave generously of her time to support the war effort, becoming a favorite among servicemen during World War II.
Tonight, we believe we have the most unusual request made to date. Here is the letter. Special Service Division, War Department, Los Angeles. Dear Command Performance, we feel we could win the war single-handed if we could only hear Carole Landis sigh. That's all we want, just to sigh. Signed Jimmy, Doc, and Big Mac somewhere in the South Pacific. Okay, fellas, don't forget your promise. Carole Landis will now sigh. The sigh that was heard round the world. Thank you, Miss Carole Landis.
They kept their promise and won the war, thanks to Carole's sigh. She wrote a book about her time entertaining troops on USO tours, which was later made into a movie called Four Jills in a Jeep. At the time of her death at age 29, Carole was having an affair with the married Rex Harrison. The official report states that Carole took an overdose of Seconal to end her life when Rex refused to leave his wife for her. Questions still surround the events of the night Carole died, though, particularly among her family, who refuse to believe that Carole killed herself and suspect some form of foul play. Pallbearers at Carole's funeral included actors Cesar Romero and Pat O'Brien. Heading around the S-curve, we stop at the Archer statue. Straight down from the Archer's bow, several rows, is Jimmy Stewart. Actor Jimmy Stewart personified the American everyman on screen with his classic charm and distinctive drawl. Having starred in some of Hollywood's greatest films, including Rear Window, Vertigo, and It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart is considered one of the greatest and most beloved actors of all time.
What is it you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down. Hey, that's a pretty good idea. I'll give you the moon, Barry.
I'll take it.
He was nominated for 5 Oscars, winning in 1941 for The Philadelphia Story. He was also a military man, holding one of the highest ranks of any actor in history, that of Brigadier General. Let's take a quick detour around the corner and stop off at the Wee Kirk o' the Heather Chapel. This is where the funerals for many of the stars we visited here took place, including Jean Harlow. But thousands have also been married here, including Ronald Reagan and Jane Wyman. After all, what better place to say "till death do us part" than in a cemetery? Seriously though, look how charming this little place is. You could film a Disney movie here. Back to the tour, we head down Cathedral Drive toward the entrance. The tall hill to the left is Whispering Pines. You guys ready for this? Whew, let's do it. Before there was John Wayne, there was Tom Mix, Hollywood's first Western megastar. From 1909 through the 1930s, he starred in over 200 films, most of which were silent. He is credited as helping define the role of the Western cowboy in movies. And that concludes our tour. What are some of your favorite memories of the stars we visited today? Share them in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more famous grave tours. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Check this out. It's the official Forest Lawn chocolate bar. After a great tour, we deserve a little treat. What do you say? Should we give it a try? Oh, that is good.